What's up, everybody? Just want to take a quick second and let people know that I am self-supported. I now put all of my episodes on Substack for paid subscribers. I put them up early, and then 24 hours later, I release them to the public on all my platforms. I also have Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, Zelle, a P.O. Box, and Locals, Patreon. And all of these, all of the links are in the show notes of every single episode I put out. So look forward to continuing to, provide great conversations. And thank you all for your continued support. Tom, Steve, thanks for coming back on. I want to start off with a theory that I was talking to a friend of mine the other day on the phone, well, yesterday really, and we were saying, there's I feel like, and I'm going to share all this with you and you guys tell me what you think. There's something else going on. Nothing is black and white linear when it comes to any type of stories that we discuss. And one of the things that I haven't heard anybody talk about in relation to Charlie Kirk's assassination this week is, and Steve, you might know this a little bit better because you live in Arizona like I do, but how big of an organization, Tom, you probably know too, but how big of an organization Turning Point is. And especially with Turning Point Action, which is their sister company, which is on the ground, grassroots, going out and getting the young people to vote. And one of the things that, we were talking about was in relation to the grassroots, for the first time, as far as I can recall, the young people came out in droves and voted for Trump. And I have to think that Turning Point was a huge, huge factor in that this time around in 24. So you look at Charlie Kirk and people were all saying, well, he got killed for saying things people didn't agree with. Yes, he was a content creator. Ben Shapiro's a content creator. Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, so on and so forth. But he wasn't just a content creator. Turning Point was a political organization. He was a politician. He was the guy that was at Mar-a-Lago with, hanging around with Donald Trump's sons and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and so on and so forth, to the point where you looked at him, whether you agreed with him or not, that he was being set up for some type of political position at some point. I mean, he was only 31 years old. So then I asked myself, okay, who benefits by him not being around anymore? Turning Point not being as effective. Now, will they go on from this? Yeah, but how effective are they going to be? Time will tell. But, young people, and I didn't realize the magnitude of it, how much of an impact he had until I've seen over the last couple of days. I mean, people are very, very upset. Friends of mine, their kids are very upset. And I have to think going into the midterms next year, this is gonna really hurt MAGA. And so who benefits? Democrats, establishment Republicans, do they benefit from this with the idea of hurting MAGA or helping the House and Senate go back to the left? So this is kind of some ideas I had in my head. So whoever wants to kick it off.
I will.
Go ahead. I could follow you either way.
Because who benefits here is, as always, is City of London, and they don't realize what they've unleashed. They think they can ride the chaos wave here. They think they can stop Trump from ending the wars around the world and bleeding out all of their proxy armies that they have around the world and everything else. And Charlie Kirk is one aspect of that story, because they know that they need to destroy the generational turn against them. Okay. And that's what's coming, because Trump is not just trying to change the United States and extricate it in many ways, not completely, but doing what he can away from continental Europe. It's a fundamental changing of the system, of how we organize ourselves, how we handle capital, how we, whether we're going to continue to be taxed and spent into oblivion, debt, that whole system of tax, debt, taxes, central banking, right? So that's tax slavery. It's otherwise known as feudalism. Okay, you have to understand that we live under a feudal system, right? We live under a feudal system that organizes itself that then uses the money from that to create a fascist overlay on top of it, which is where there's a commingling of corporate and governmental structure. That is the system, and that's not the American system, but that is the fucking British system. And so the one thing you have to think about is how are they going to, with the generational changes, the boomers age out and they're no longer nearly as effective a part of the voting bloc. You have to destroy, you have to take these kids, these Zoomers, who have losing faith in all of the institutions, voting, college, everything, like the whole system. These kids are they get it. They know the system is rigged against them, and they're revolting against it. It's part of the reason why Kirk was so effective, as you pointed out, and why Trump. They saw the numbers coming out away from the November election with how Zoomer males voted. Noted also that Zoomer females still voted for Kamala Harris. Right? Because of the chaos, the boys are responding to the chaos by getting serious. The girls are responding to the chaos by running to daddy. Daddy being the government. The surrogate daddy. Okay? That's the classic divide. So they're happy about that because now birth rates are down. That keeps that happening. But they can't have these kids, these boys grow up and get purpose. And more appropriately get religion. And that religion is, yeah, fuck you, we want a community. We don't want to be deracinated economic actors, brownie in motion economic actors in a free fire zone. Fuck off. We're going to fix our country. We're going to fix our communities. That's what Kirk was building. That's what was coming, and they were never going to be able to stop that. By the way, they killed him. Now they just made him into a martyr. Now he's Obi-Wan. Now he's Obi-Wan Kirk Obi, for fuck's sake. Like I that's a dumb thing, but they always felt that they can like shake the ant jars and get the conservatives to finally blow their stack and start killing lefties. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is the kind of situation you've seen, you're already seeing, which is they're not burning down cities. We're just doxing some assholes who twerked about this on Twitter and TikTok. And then getting them fired, which they deserve, and nothing. And it's only going to get. We're going to turn this into a constructive thing, not a destructive thing. They want destructive behavior from us. They're not getting it. So, but they think that they can just I don't know, politically assassinate us into submission, that we're not going to go out and do the work. No, we're just going to double down. Like, that's what's coming. That's what I think.
I see. So,
and I think, I honestly think that this is like, if there's anybody who's behind this, behind the kid who did this, and I don't even think it necessarily has to go any deeper than that. But we're in the 48-hour rule, so I'm not really going to comment on the kid. Okay. But if he was being run, most likely he was being run by City of London and/or Mossad /CIA. It's all one big blob. There's a faction of all three intelligence services that are all working together.
Yeah, I'll start with this. Charlie Kirk had millions of followers that were under the age of 30, and his reach is not going to be. People underestimated his reach. Like I have kids in my circle that are they're incensed because he was a guidepost for an entire generation. And the thing that he brought to the table that most people didn't was he used a Socratic method to ask open-ended questions to get people to think about their argument, right? And to research their argument. But like his work at colleges, people don't realize how impactful that is when you're dealing with a university system that's an indoctrination center that teaches you not to critically think and teaches you to accept whatever narrative is put in front of you. And he was challenging that. But where he was really effective was not at the universities. It was his coverage of the elections. It was his election recommendations. It was his view of the world related to the elections. And he mobilized an entire generation that, by and large, wouldn't have voted any other way. And so he's an existential threat to the control grid that's already in place by the, whoever the elite is, whoever you want to call them. He was an existential threat to them. And, I'll quote a phrase from Yamamoto. I fear we've awakened a sleeping giant and filled him with terrible resolve. Because that's exactly what happened. Now, when this goes kinetic and how it goes kinetic will be if the government doesn't do the right thing and start rolling people up. And and Tom's right, 48-hour rule. I've told my audience for the last 2 days, wait and see how this develops, right? Some red flags for me that showed up already, Discord. That's how they groomed crooks. That's how they groomed a couple other shooters. Discord, which tells me some kind of an agency is involved. And they only reference one conversation, right? They don't reference how many other people he was talking to, what other conversations he was having, where he got radicalized. They never talk about that, right? Like, this is the guy, that guy, that's the guy.
Why are you pointing to me?
Right?
Why are you pointing to me?
That's the thing, right?
No.
They're always they want you to look over here. Look over here. Don't look at this motherfucker over here, but look over here, right? So we're seeing that happen right now. And it doesn't help that, the governor of Utah, a flaming DEI liberal retard, talks for 10 minutes about everybody's collaborating. And then there's Kash Patel, who looks like he just got caught pumping the neighbor's cat. None of that's going to play well, right? And there's already a massive distrust of the government anyway. And there's so many parts of this story that don't add up anyway. Let's just give it another 24 to 48 hours to see how much more, develops out of this. But the point is that there was already a strong distrust. They've taken away a cultural icon. That cultural icon is now a martyr. It's going to be a battle cry for an entire generation. And they've created a problem I don't think they realize will come full circle. And it'll come full circle in a lot of ways that I don't think they anticipate. Because the one thing that we underestimate with the current generations is their knowledge of technology. They know how to break things with tech way better than I do. And I've been doing this for a long time. And they will find ingenious ways to mess with the system. So we're just at the cusp of a broader fight. But the biggest thing this did in the context of that generation is it woke everybody up that we're really at war over the soul of our country.
This episode is brought to you by McIlvaney Financial Group. Their advisors bring a depth of knowledge and experience that allow them to serve their clientele with care, ensuring their financial needs are met now and in the future. Personally, I'm not saying cash is worthless, but you can see what's happening. It's worth less every year. Gold is the opposite. Click on the promo link in the show notes or go to www.mcilvaney.com/coffeeandamike.
That's what you're seeing.
Agreed, Steve. I mean, in every way. And for every jackass twerking on TikTok about how they're happy Charlie Kirk is dead, I'm seeing 10 times the number of normie Democrats going, I've never voted for a Republican in my life. I'm done. I can't work with these people. They're insane. Mm-hmm. And this is a moment, it's that whole Rene Girard argument about mimetic collapse. They existed in one version of reality, right? They had this version of reality. MAGA has been objectified. It's been turned into a noun. Have you noticed how they've nounified MAGA? It's not a phrase. Make America great again. No, it's now MAGA does this. MAGA believes that. MAGA does this. You're a MAGA. You're a this. And they don't even call it. They don't have the they're so blatant about it. They don't even say like MAGA tard or MAGA, MAGA drone or something like, because it's a descriptor. It should be an adjective, if anything. And they've turned it. They so desperately want to turn it into a noun. It's ham-fisted and it just sounds stupid. I mean, it really does sound fucking dumb. Oh, you're MAGA. You're a MAGA. What the fuck does that mean? How about I'm a MAGA tard? Fine. Like I used to call them. I still call them MAGA tards. Like the hyper, like the hyper crazy friggin' Trump guys who sadly I'm becoming one of them. I'm like, yeah, maybe I am becoming a MAGA tard. Okay, good.
But
Whatever.
that's
At least
that's a
like
symptom.
tard is the fucking noun, MAGA is the adjective. They have bad, but these are commies, and commies always play word games.
No, they try and dehumanize whoever
Yes.
their opponent
Well,
is, so they can
yeah.
justify the next step, which is what just happened.
Right.
If you go
agreed,
back,
Steve. That's what I'm getting at. The word games are always designed to. They're always designed to dehumanize and minimize their violence, maximize our violence. Right. That's their game. Well, fuck you, shit lib. Like, which is grammatically correct, by the way. Not flying this time. So Steve, you're absolutely right. The sleeper has awakened. I started doing Dune references earlier in the week, but the thing that's interesting about this is that I still believe at a certain level we retain enough of our humanity at a certain level that we're not going to go full fucking Fremen on these people. Even though
because I think Tom, most people have realized that they're being played by somebody else and not by the liberals, because most of the people like you and I that see this for what it really is, this was an incitement operation. This was not just a political assassination. It was a political assassination trying to incite a civil war and get people to go off the reservation. Yes. And most people, and remember, we're still in stage 1 of the 5 stages of grief, right? They haven't got to anger yet, not real anger. But when they do, it'll come out in other ways. Mm-hmm. And I think the interesting thing that I've seen today that really makes me chuckle is watching the Democrats starting to backpedal away from all the rhetoric that we've seen them push out over the last 4 years.
Yep.
Because
10 years?
Yeah, because what I don't think the city of London intended was for the population at large to start saying, okay, number one, you need to go after everybody in the media that push this narrative and push the violent rhetoric and the sedition. Every one of them. You need to take away FCC licenses, you need to arrest people, and you need to publicly try them, and then you hang them. And then the same thing they're saying about all the influencers, all of the media people that were outside of the mainstream media that were dehumanizing them. They didn't anticipate that. And that rhetoric is growing. Like today, they basically outed 3 military officers for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. They've all been removed from their positions. And they fucking should, by the way. Let me just finish this thread. And I want to say this to every officer that's in uniform. If you're speaking shit in uniform, if you better be goddamn lucky that I'm not in charge. Because I would strip you of rank and I would fucking throw you out of the military with a dishonorable discharge. You do not talk political shit with your uniform on. You keep your private opinions to yourself and keep it outside of the military. You're a fucking disgrace to the military. Absolutely. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system because they're pissing me off to no end. But every one of these liberal shitbags that are in uniform, if you're Pete Hegseth, run them the fuck out or try them. You could try them under UCMJ for aiding the enemy. Throw them the fuck out. All of them.
Absolutely. No, and same thing with all the fucking purple hair baristas and the fucking nose hair. Like all the purple hair tumblerinas, Tumblerina von Dry Snatch, fuck you, honey. You don't get to go to college. Okay? You don't get to keep your job. You get thrown out on your ass and have to go back and live with your MAGA daddy, who you hate. You don't get to have your public daddy issue meltdowns on the public fucking dime anymore. Like, fuck off. We're done. No. We don't want you in polite. You're not a polite person. You don't get to be in polite society. Well, you're not being very polite. You can't. Exactly. No. What we're doing is we're putting guardrails on your behavior.
Yep.
We believe in live and let live, but we do not believe in you being a libertine douchebag. Okay, libertarians in the audience, you don't get to be libertines and get angry at everybody who doesn't want to be a libertine. You understand the difference? Libertarians shoot people who come onto their freaking property without an invitation. Libertines allow chaos into their home because they might get fucked in the ass, and it might feel good. Fundamental difference. I knew I was going to get wound up on this podcast. You're here. So, and all the people in the comment threads who hate me, I hate you too. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the fucking way.
Just, what got me wound up about all of this to begin with is I'm seeing, the steady, decline of good order and discipline in the military.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of that happens anyway, but these guys that are posting stuff online, this is a real conviction of the general officers that are in charge of the military right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't do something about it, it means they're complicit in it. And this stuff happened for the last 4 years. Guys wearing those dog masks and all that other freaky, stupid shit in uniform. There's the first thing they drill into your head when you pin on your second lieutenant bars is you never denigrate the uniform. Ever denigrate. You just never do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you denigrate the whole service, right? And there's a reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
But to see no consequences for these guys pushing all these personal opinions in public it's a fucking crime. It's a crime in the UCMJ, right?
Yep.
And it's good to see people taking action. But now I want to see justice, not just action, justice. And that's what the public wants to see. And they're not going to, it's going to piss you off, Tom, but it's true. It's like the January 6th stuff. It's like the Epstein stuff. Nobody's going to stop until there's justice. They want to see justice. They don't want to see any more kangaroo courts in Congress. I don't give a shit about like the UAP stuff last week. What a clown show. Yeah, I saw some lights. It flew over my head. There was some static electricity, and then it vanished. What does that tell the public? We already knew this. It's just a show, right? So I think the impact of this is not, we haven't felt it yet. Because who's going to replace Charlie Kirk? Ben Shapiro? No, he's a cuck. Why would anybody replace, he's irreplaceable. And the piece that most people miss with Charlie Kirk is the guy, he practiced what he preached. Like I met the guy here in Scottsdale, happenstance about 2 or 3 times, right?
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, he's a pompous ass. I'm like, when you're surrounded by people that walk up to you and hate on you every single day, of course you kind of stand back when somebody walks up to you. But the guy I met was gracious. And he was a nice guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I look at it as people haven't really felt the effects of this. And the next question is, what happens at Turning Point? Because Turning Point's a massive movement in this country. I mean, I want everybody to think about this. What are you going to do when you don't have Charlie Kirk and Posobiec talking about the election as it's happening? I mean, the guy was a fucking encyclopedia of election knowledge right off the top of his head. Go watch the Tucker Carlson interview. You're like, Jesus Christ, this guy's incredibly smart.
Well, and Steve,
we lost to JFK.
And Steve, and how about the universities? I mean, we know this because they're based in Phoenix. All these universities they go out to, and I mean, all over the country, all year round. And next year, being
Who's
the
gonna do
midterms,
that work now?
being in the
Right? Who's gonna
midterms,
do it?
they lost their leader.
Yeah.
Well, it just means what it amounts to is if Charlie Kirk had done his job, right? Then he created it. Then you got to find out that we're going to find out who's going to step up. Next man up.
Yeah.
It's not elbows up, man. Now it's next man up.
Yeah. And on
You're
that vein,
you're the second lieutenant. The second lieutenant just got shot. No, you've been promoted up over the up out of the
over the
foxhole.
wall.
Go.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
This is are you fighting a war or are you LARPing it? Or you're fighting a war?
I think that came home to roost with everybody that was on the fence. Because we've all been all of us have been talking about this. I know I've been talking about it for 4 years.
I know.
I mean, we're in an information war now. We're in this is a kinetic war now.
Agreed.
I hate to say it, and he's a casualty.
He is.
Do we let his death die in vain, or do we change the calculus now? And we changed the calculus by driving everybody that caused this out of business, out of their job, and into bankruptcy.
Yes.
Because that's the best way to do it versus
this is like Stephen. I'll give you a perfect example. Stephen King is out there today apologizing for the shit he said on Wednesday. Why? Because his fucking lawyers called him and said, dude, your entire estate is at risk of being ripped away from you for fucking libel and slander for what you said. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So your apology doesn't fucking matter. Okay? That's the timeline here. Somebody called him up like, dude, you can't do that. What are you, out of your mind?
Plus, he has a movie out today, too.
What's that?
He has a movie that was released today, too. One of his...
Oh, okay. So on top of everything else, he's got a fucking movie out, trying to, dude, not good for your opening box office numbers to, pile on to the death of Charlie Kirk the way you did. Like, think, but this is what happens when you live in an echo chamber of your own design.
Well, right? So I eviscerated him on Twitter today.
Oh, I know you did. I saw it earlier, but
I eviscerated a bunch of these retards today because they're all.
Well, Steve, I saw you do that, and it was great. I think I even either liked it or retweeted it. My point being is that you might not have seen the fact that, like, somebody was going through chapter and verse, go, no, this is the timeline of Stephen King, and oh, by the way, and I'm like, yeah, bankrupt him.
I saw that.
And I'm like, bankrupt him.
I saw that shit.
And Trump is out on Fox and Friends this morning saying Soros and Rico in the same sentence. And I've been saying, and he says this is the second time he said this, and he's now serious. And I've talked to a lot of people. If he's serious, Tom, he's going to declare all the NGOs terrorist organizations. He's going to roll up his son and Huma Ahmadine, and he is going to actually do something besides run his fucking mouth. Well, it's like you can run your. This is Friday. Remember, it's fucking Friday. What does he do on Friday? Yes. He drops a tac nuke in the room, and then he goes and plays golf for the weekend, and then pulls it back on Monday. And then waits for Emily's list to see how they're going to to deal with this stuff. Look, there's a playbook here. We've seen the playbook run, and then he moves on to the next thing. Meanwhile, everything keeps moving forward, and. We still have a treasonous element in Congress that can block everything he fucking does. We still have a judiciary that hasn't been properly sanctioned by the Supreme Court to say, oh, by the way, he gets to execute these Article 2 powers because those are his Article 2 powers. And oh, by the way, you're lower courts and you don't get to tell the president how to conduct foreign policy, for example. They're still trying. I know they're still trying, but again, when I used to use the phrase order of operations, it's clear that what we're seeing right now is that playing out. In order to bring the rhetoric down as he gets attacked every day for being a fucking dictator, which makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. He's a king. Come on, let's call it right. He's a king and or a dictator. And remember, only the king accuses other kings of being of being dictators. So first this is why this is City of London. Okay? Because they usurped the fucking throne, they destroyed the fucking concept of monarchy, they made monarchy equivalent to tyrant and dictator. And they did that ahistorically for the purposes of instituting the fucking globo homo slop that we have today that we call government. Okay? And that's all fucking old British, Dutch fucking propaganda bullshit. They've been doing it forever. And it's so deeply ingrained in all of our fucking rhetoric, our political rhetoric. We don't even realize that we've been fucking programmed into this shit. Even the best of us don't get it. It takes us most of our lives to deprogram ourselves from this crap. But that being said, they always accuse you of that which they are. Alinsky 101. There's a lot of projection on the left. No, you want the King of England to continue to rule over the United States. How about fuck you? Oh, the King of England, this is a ceremonial. Yes, exactly. The King and the Crown are two. I got people doing deep fucking dives, thanks to Ian Burlingame and other people, deep fucking dives about how the entire British monarchy has been betrayed and how the British people have been administratively locked off from their own goddamn having any say over their own fucking government, and how that's been propagated around the goddamn world and the rest of the Commonwealth. and why they have a particular hard-on to destroy the United States and always have. Because we're the colonies that got away. We're the colonies that established a different system and a different type of government. So sorry if we didn't live up to the ideals of the Constitution, libertarians, civil libertarians, shit libs and constitutionalists. Got news for you. This shit's hard when everybody wants to destroy you. You have to fight to keep this thing alive. That's where we are. And we're on the verge and the cusp of actually reestablishing some semblance of constitutional norms. But you do that by teaching people who don't even understand how the fucking Constitution works, who believe X, and they hear X on TV all day. Donald Trump's a dictator. Donald Trump's a king. We can't have this, blah, 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 blah. And then he can't deport all these people. Well, actually, he can. Because you told us to trust the SCOTUS. Well, it's SCOTUS. Yeah, but that's the... And now everybody's having to sit down and review their constitutional law.
You know, there's a simple solution for most of the media.
Well,
they just need to repeal Smith-Mundt.
It's the Smith-Mundt Act. And
Smith-Mundt and get rid of that and then start arresting people.
I agree. Steve, I got no problem. We have always set a very high bar, probably too high a bar, for convicting people of treason.
Well, they've watered it down so people don't get convicted of it. And my answer, there's a simple solution for that too. Mm-hmm. Run them through a military tribunal and then hang them. And don't fuck around.
But
right?
my
Article
point,
102, aiding the enemy. I think it's 102 or 106.
But my point about all of this stuff is the following. Radicalizing certain aspects of the quote-unquote MAGA right to say he's not rolling people up fast enough, he's not doing this, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. That's also, they understand the problem. They're putting, look, you have a group of people that are trying to stop Trump from changing fucking anything. They turn around and they put up all these roadblocks. We, the sophisticated, reasonably sophisticated observers of this go, that's all bullshit. That's all going to get taken out by the Supreme Court, or that's constitutional. It's dumb. Yes, but it takes time because legal time runs slower than political time. Meanwhile, you accelerate the fucking Groyper crew, the fucking Nick Fuentes and the Ian Carrolls and the Candace Owens and everybody else to scream that he's not moving fast enough. So you wind up with this. You wind up with a self-fulfilling prophecy where everybody black pills themselves. When the reality is that he's moving about as fast as this fucking system can change itself.
Right.
And maybe it's not fast enough. But at the very least,
but there are things he can do.
Water for the very fucking people who are fucking us over.
Well, there's things he can do.
Because that's the way I see the fucking the strategic game board.
Some of that I don't buy because there are things he could do right now. If the FBI wasn't so fucking impotent, he could have look. They have enough evidence right now, just from the emails from Anthony Fauci, to roll that motherfucker up on RICO charges, on fraud charges, on sedition charges, on treason charges, even watered down treason. This guy, there's a mountain of evidence of this guy colluding with other doctors in what they knew was wrong with the vaccines. They haven't arrest somebody, for fuck's sake. Just arrest somebody. My God.
And what if what happens
Obama and Brennan,
but what happens if Fauci gets arrested? But what happens if Fauci gets arrested? They have a crap case. They can't get jurisdiction. They can't get a decent judge, and the fucker walks.
You try him at a military tribunal. It was a military operation. Why do we're still in the civilian courts. This is out of the civilian courts. We're out of that. These people committed crimes against humanity as well as crimes against the state and against the country. This is a military tribunal. Why the fuck would I try him in a civilian court? He's not going to... There's no fair trials. DC is a kangaroo court, for fuck's sake. Send him down to Gitmo, let him cool his fucking heels, run him through a military tribunal, and then hang the son of a bitch. And everybody else that was in AID. They took $970 million out of the place. Where'd the fucking money come from? Came from Big Pharma. Who ran Operation Warp Speed? The military. So who's in charge of that? Run them down to Gitmo too. Fuck, arrest someone. My God. We need 20 grand juries before we masturbate enough left-handed and right-handed to arrest somebody when there's a mountain of evidence by his own hand? My God, there's enough forensic evidence just in the vaccines to show that the vaccines, there's 360 pages just in the Pfizer documents to talk about the reproductive system. I thought this thing was respiratory, and all of a sudden they have 360 pages on the reproductive system. Isn't that a conviction in and of itself? Why the fuck are you talking about that? They could talk about the lipid nanoparticle, which Fauci also knew about. He also knew that remdesivir was killing people, but he pushed it anyway. I mean, there's enough evidence just in his emails to convict the guy 100 times over. That's my point. But yet, I keep hearing this argument that, well, we have to go through the civilian courts. We have to make sure there's a grand jury. Okay. But for the guys you have a mountain of evidence on, you have a clear-cut case. It's by their own hand. You could literally, I could go and pull the records from Outlook right now and put that guy away for 150 years. Just arrest somebody, for fuck's sake. And even if it's like Brennan, they got him cold on treason. Cold. He's not a civilian court guy. He's another military tribunal guy. This guy ran the CIA. He ran covert ops that were highly illegal. Fuck, arrest the son of a... Better yet, issue a fucking kill order. My God, do something. Stop looking impotent. That's the problem, right? If you show some kind of good faith to the public, we'd start to believe that you're serious. But when you stand on stage like you just pumped the neighbor's cat and you look like you're looking at stars in heaven, that doesn't buy you any credibility or trust. And especially when the story already doesn't add up that you're trying to sell us on. And why the fuck is the governor of Utah talking to the public when the director of the FBI, who's supposed to run the investigation, is right there? My God, step up, lead follower, get the fuck out of the way. My God. I mean, what a clown show. And then on top of all of that, he takes no questions. My God, just arrest someone. Fuck.
Well, then to add to that, to the governor of Utah in the last couple of days, the FBI, obviously I'm just a civilian, but they have to post a picture of a person of interest when there's 3,000 people that were at that event and how many camera phones and seeing a guy running on top of the building. They figured out J6 really fast. They couldn't use the technology and the resources to find this guy like a lot quicker, that they had to put out a picture of a person of interest. How did he get away? How did he
turned himself in? They didn't.
The father turned him in. The father turned him in. But
the FBI.
Well, hold on. Let me just add one more thing. Hold on. Let me add one more thing here, Steve. How much time would have went into that to prepare for something like that? That didn't happen in a day. And how was he able to just get out of the area that quickly?
I'm not going down that road yet. I'm going to give this another 48 hours before I go.
You shouldn't be asking that question. It doesn't matter. Like, what you want a big conspiracy? Like, it doesn't need to be a big conspiracy. It could easily be 3 kids on campus helped him get on top of that fucking roof. Because that whole fucking university apparently was a fucking Trantifa shithole. So, you're gonna. There were kids in the audience knew that it was gonna happen.
That's the other part of
because
the story.
Because they were fucking filming it. They were standing there waiting for the shot to come through. We got pictures of that, Mike. You can't. Everything doesn't have to be a goddamn conspiracy. It can be really simple. He was a radicalized kid. He was groomed by a fucking agency, handed a goddamn rifle, and prepped for him. Went and did the deed, gone. Then felt bad about it or crowed about it to the wrong person. Got turned in, and maybe he's even a patsy. Maybe he even said, and maybe they even said, and you'll take, you're gonna lean in and take one for the team. Why? Because he was a true believer. Because sometimes these kids are just true believers. We have a lot of them, and that should scare you more than
and nobody's
else.
talking about that either, Tom. That's a good point.
All the conspiracy, like all the Occam's razor. Well, how could this possibly happen? Blah blah blah. All this shit like we saw in Butler, Pennsylvania. How about the kid really did believe Trump was fucking Hitler? And there was a lot of help to get him onto the fucking roof to shoot Trump. And the real conspiracy isn't that he the real conspiracy wasn't that he tried to shoot Trump. The real conspiracy was that he was in position to kill Trump. That was the story. Everything else didn't fucking matter. All the rest of it is chum in the fucking waters. And yet these goddamn fucking people actually had the goddamn nerve to float for 4 fucking days that Trump faked his own goddamn shooting. And we had to argue about it for a fucking month. There was nothing more offensive than having to defend that bullshit. I don't have to deal with that crap in my own fucking community for a goddamn month. Because of all this Occam's, because everybody's all of a sudden an expert on Occam's razor. How about there are a bunch of middle class fucking kids, white kids, who really do think Donald Trump's the devil?
Yeah,
and that should scare the fuck out of you. And the rest of this shit is cope from the fact that you're not willing to face the fact that we have a real goddamn war on our hands.
I love getting you fired up, man. I love it.
I do too.
That's what pisses me off. Stop wasting your fucking time dropping down those fucking rabbit holes and go, what are we actually talking about?
Dude, yesterday it was a plane.
Nature of the goddamn conflict.
It was literally a plane yesterday. Like at least 24 people sent me a tail number and said, this plane took off, 45 minutes after, and it turned its ADS-B off. And I'm like, okay,
shut the fuck up.
What does that have to do with anything? I saw
slop coming out of fucking 4chan, Steve, that it was all the Jews. Okay,
that's going to happen anyway.
Of course it is. You know why? Because 4chan is literally 85% IDF agents. That's why.
Wait, what?
Duh.
Flowing in fruit, man. Well, my point of saying that is I was saying in our roundtable chat today, I'm like, the plane's getting more credibility right now, and
I would love to see.
There's so much context missing.
Nothing made me happier to watch fucking see John Brennan dragged out of the villa that he's staying in fucking Austria and drag his ass back to fucking the DC, drag his face across concrete, beat it down a couple of fucking times, and then throw him in a fucking hole.
No,
that's what I fuck military tribunal. I want the guy dragged across concrete.
No, it's the best. So I saw Saddam Hussein in Baghdad in his underwear in a cell. And I'm thinking that for a guy like John Brennan that ran the CIA, had the ultimate amount of power, that's a perfect and fitting 24/7 online video of this guy going nuts in his underwear in a cell in Gitmo. That's the best penance for a guy like that. He has no control. He has no way to go, no place to go, and he just goes insane.
Pay-per-view. We can balance
the
money.
Absolutely. Yeah. The crazy cam. Absolutely. I mean, look, I want to be creative with some of them. Like Obama, I want to see him hung. He committed treason. He hangs. The Clintons, they're going to die anyway. Pelosi's going to die anyway, like the rest of them, Mitch and all the rest of them. But some of them you need to be creative with, because these guys were hardcore believers in deconstructing our country. And
absolutely.
It needs to be a long... their death needs to last for years, not days. Their reign was for days, but their death lasts for years, and it has to be very public. But you see my frustration, though. I get it, Steve. I do. This is the public's. This is what I get this is vitriol I get every day. This is where the public's at. They're so frustrated that there's been no arrests and that nobody's been held accountable, and they're not seeing any justice. I don't care how slow the justice system works. I understand. I get all the mechanics of why it's slow. Grand juries, evidence, building a case, fomenting a case, making sure it's airtight, making sure there's no appeals, or making sure there's none of that, right? I get all that. But for the public at large, after something like this happens, they want to see somebody held accountable that's believable. And maybe this kid was radicalized. Maybe he did we know he had help because he was talking to somebody on Discord. That right there says there's other people involved, right? They've already admitted to that. So we know that's a fact. Okay, so go roll those people up too. They're all accomplices. So, but where I'm going with this is the public already has a massive distrust of the government. For them to do a clown show like this and handle this as badly as they've handled everything else, it doesn't build public confidence and trust, right? And if they would do that, people would take a step back, and it would bring people off the edge, because people are like I'm hearing Republicans, people that are hardcore Christians saying we need to eradicate the entire liberal population. Okay, wait a second. One of my kids is liberal. You think my kids signed up for this? They were the first ones to call me and go, "What the fuck?" Right? Not everybody is in that boat, but this is the vitriol we have. It's similar to after Pearl Harbor.
This is why you can't. I agree. This is why we can't. But I agree. But
we have to step back.
You've got to get. But if you're going to get somebody, you've got to go. If you're going to get someone, you've got to go.
I hear you, and I
make sure you get them.
You. I know. I agree with you. What if it's a bogus case and then they walk? People will be even more mad. I get all that.
It's a very dangerous situation. So, I get it. And the bigger question then is, like everything else, okay, we get an arrest. Maybe it's, I don't know, pick somebody. Gina Haspel.
Doesn't matter. Somebody. Doesn't matter who. There's a mountain of people to choose from. And
right. Okay. So do we go? So do we go with? Yeah. But again, how many of these people are still protected?
Well, that's the other question, right?
And this is the problem. It's like everybody wants it to be simple, and everybody knows that it's not simple. And so then the question is, has the playing field, has the game board been set to allow that big move to happen? I don't know.
My answer is no.
No, I don't think it has. And I think we're getting closer to it every day. And I think next week's Trump's visit to the king is going to be a very pivotal moment, and we're going to find out where we are. Somebody asked me on Twitter the other day. Somebody asked me on Twitter the other day. They said, "Why in the hell would Trump be going to meet with the enemy?" I'm like, to discuss with them the terms of their surrender.
Yeah,
that's the attitude you have to have.
The king's not going to come to him. They're not going to come to him. The king's never gone to.
No. Trump is going to go meet the king, and why is he?
I'm not talking about Trump, the king. I'm talking about Charles. I know.
The king. Yes, I'm talking about.
He's never going to leave.
Trump is going to meet the king. Trump is going to meet the King Charles, King Sausage Fingers, and someone asked me, why in the fuck is he going to meet with the goddamn enemy? I'm like, because he's going to present to him terms of surrender. We all want to live in this world where we're on the backside, that we're defending ourselves against these evil fucking people. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, and in some arenas, and we are on playing defense. Clearly, we're playing defense if they can shoot fucking Charlie Kirk on a college campus for nothing, right? But in other areas, we're playing offense. And those moves on offense are big ones. And the difference between the domestic situation, the financial situation, and the geopolitical situation, those are three different arenas, and they're all moving in different directions, or they're all playing against each other in the narrative zeitgeist.
We hadn't got there yet, but I know exactly where you're going with that, because you're
right.
You're
and so what I'm getting at here is, you're not wrong, Steve. I mean, I want to see. I want to see arrests, dude. I'm with you. I'm like, okay, give me something to work with here.
Well,
seriously, but at the same time, I'm also watching all the other things. And
let me qualify that for a second, because you're right. But the other part is, they need to set conditions for that to happen anyway, right? Because if you roll up Obama, chaos. Because there are people that are believers. Remember our revolutionary conversation? Remember that conversation? They're revolutionaries.
How about figuring out where all the NGO, tracking down all the NGO money is? One of the things I've noted, and I talked to some people inside the administration about this. What they said is the following. I listened to I listened to a podcast you did the other day, and oh, by the way, this is the way it works. You were absolutely right about what happened in LA. Right, that set off the riots in June. They baited them out into the public because every day is opposite day in Trump's new America, so they're very predictable. So Tom Homan and ICE go in to bust up some cartel money laundering operation, literally in a dry cleaning, which is hilarious. They're doing money laundering in a laundromat. And he goes to bust those guys, and they activate their rent a spick squad to go to show up and create a mess in L.A. Karen Bass gets out there, takes on the public microphone. Gavin Newsom does his fucking thing, yada, yada, yada. And Trump is just sitting there waiting with the National Guard and the Marines. Well, guess what they did? They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They waited until these people refused to actually comply with the fucking law. Then they brought then they nationalized the state guard, brought in the Marines, assholes and elbows, rolled everybody up. That was the public face of it. The private face of it was they watched all the money flow. Because all those, that rent the spick squad I just mentioned, got paid.
With USAID money.
Right, or whatever it was. No, it's more ingenious than that, Steve. There's account after account after account, and this government grant over here, and that NED grant over there, and that DOD grant over there, and all this free money's everywhere, and they're all got accounts, and money leaves a trail, and money leaves a fingerprint, and so you got to track all those down and cut them off. And the way I've been describing this is like they're like missile launchers in Iran. After Israel is flying cap over Tehran. After night one, Israel's flying cap over Tehran. Iran then turns around and fires off a bunch of missiles. Whee! There go the launchers. They all light up like fucking Christmas trees on trees on Christmas Day. And guess what? They fly over there. They knock the fucking launchers out. They're all single-use launchers at this point. Next night, they fire off 50 of them, kill 50 launchers. Then it's 25 launchers. Then it's 10. Then it's 5. And then no matter how many missiles Iran has, they've got no guns to shoot them from. Therefore, ammo without the gun is useless, other than to whatever. Same thing with money. These are all single-use accounts now, but you've got to allow them to touch off. We don't know where the money is. We don't know where the problem is. We don't know. We have no idea. We don't know where to start in the investigation. Maybe you can find maybe you can map 20% of the money, but where's the 80%? You got to get that stuff. And that means you have to continually run operations and pull them out into the light so that you can then put them down like fucking dogs, find their money, boom, Bob's your uncle, done, cut off. And that's how you get to the point where now you can roll them up so that when you go to roll up Obama, you don't have any fucking money to rent a spick squad. Or,
No, I wholeheartedly agree, and I think that's part of the play for the National Guard in the blue cities. It's not about crime; it's about setting conditions so they can make those arrests.
Yes,
and when they're ready to move, the tell will be when they're ready to move. The National Guard is activated and move into those cities because they're expecting rights and they're setting conditions to limit the amount of kinetic like they did in LA. Yes. And you're right; they're all paid actors. One of the things I've heard from some folks on the inside that inside DHS that say the same thing is that we're doing shaping ops right now so that we're getting the people we know that are the biggest threats out of the country, right, as well as the ringleaders, but we're also going after the source of funding. That operation in LA was all about money laundering for human trafficking and for drugs. It wasn't just some bad guys are there. They were taking the money out of the cartels in SoCal so that they could set conditions to roll up some of the rest of them. But they were taking out the worst offenders in the money banks, right? Because most people don't realize this. Antifa, BLM, the whole thing was just, they were all paid actors. And you notice how since USAID money is dried up, they're not moving them around the country on buses like they were before because there's no money to do it. So
that shit costs a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's been curtailed.
And when Trump is actively willing to state, I can go after Soros for RICO, that means they've got it. Now, when you state that, Steve, you're now stating flat out that we know it's City of London who's our fucking enemy. Okay? George Soros is an MI6 asset.
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true. I keep forgetting about that.
And fucking Trump knows it. And you want to know who else knows it? Scott Bessent.
Keep going, because I'm not sure where you're going with that.
Meaning he knows, because he used to trade with Soros. What I mean is he can now, Bessent is running the. Who do you think is running the LBMA draining operation? Do you think that's J.P. Morgan? Really? Really? Yeah, I mean, I believe that Jamie Dimon is helping, but that operation is being run out of the fucking Treasury Department. Their fingerprints are all over it.
Yeah, good point.
So you kill the LBMA, you kill the you're killing the COMEX. Like, you're draining these fucking people of their money. You're blowing up their bonds. You're blowing up their fucking bonds. The only thing you can really do here, we already rolled up 2 fucking members of Starmer's cabinet. Fucking Mandelson gets taken down in 24 hours, and they try to slip in Sir Richard Moore. You mean the former head of MI6 is the ambassador to the United States?
I was wondering when
the
you were
guy
going
who's
to
the
get to that.
literal architect who helped create the modern Ukrainian war and the fucking Steele dossier, and they make him ambassador to the United States. The only way I can see the Trump administration approving that motherfucker is if, yeah, you get to come to Washington and we put you in a fucking hotel with a locked door, and the only thing you're allowed to do is DoorDash McDonald's and Diet Coke. Fuck off, you limey motherfucker. No, you don't get to eat. You don't even get to eat beans for breakfast. Fuck you. You get McDonald's.
I was wondering when you were going to get to that.
You have to eat American fast food, you limey prick. That's his. Cut off from everything, and all he gets to watch on a daily basis is reruns of me screaming about how GCHQ runs the world. Fuck him. Like, that's where we have to be.
No, I'm with you. This is a state of war. I mean, people have finally realized that this is a state of war. But the part that people need to realize is that if we're fighting each other, we're fighting the wrong people. We just are. But that said, let me just placate all you people that are like, fuck that, these guys. There's always learn this, interact graphically. Doing information operations over there, I can tell you this. If they're on the left or right of the bell curve, you're never going to reach them. They're never going to be reasonable. You're never going to convince them. They're believers. They're never coming off the ledge.
No.
And let me say this too. This will piss off people in your audience too. Doesn't matter if they're left or right. If they're in the extreme, you can't reason with them. It doesn't matter what they believe. That's their belief system, and you discard a third on the peripherals because you'll never touch them. It's the people in the center we care about. Right? I made this argument on Twitter today, and people lost their ever-loving minds.
Yeah.
The
right wing radicals are like, this is why I refuse to call myself a libertarian anymore. Like, I'm done. The libertarians have completely lost the fucking plot. We're in the middle of a fucking war, and you're acting like a fucking panda that won't save its own species. To quote Fight Club, my favorite moment in Fight Club. FYI, Cernovich. Mike is not one of my favorite people in the world, but every once in a while he has a nugget of wisdom on Twitter. I'm going to read this one out because you've got to hear this. He's like, to left-wing billionaires in the audience reading me, and many do, you are guarded by men who love Charlie Kirk and love America. This isn't a threat. Spare me your piss boy tantrums. I don't care. No one does. You are scum. It's simply reality. I've always said, at the height of COVID or height of the WEF's ascension into everybody's consciousness, that Klaus Schwab is not going to be killed after being arrested, taken, stripped naked and paraded in front of the world. No. Klaus Schwab's going to die when his driver gets radicalized one day because his driver's daughter can't get fucking dental care. He's going to get in his car one day and he's going to say, "Take me to the coffee shop," and he's going to turn around and he's going to shoot him in the face, and he's going to walk out of the car and he's going to leave. And that's how Schwab is going to die. It's not even going to be that some intelligence asset is his new driver that day and shoots him like you would see in a fucking Bourne movie. No, one day his driver's going to wake up and just shoot him. That is the level of chaos they think they can control. That's what Cernovich is talking about today. That's why killing Charlie Kirk was a mistake.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I hadn't got to that yet, how this is going to unfold. Because
that's why I'm not worried about the Peter Thiels and the Alex Karps and all the rest of these fucking people. I am not worried about any of them. because the kids that Charlie Kirk was radicalizing, well, not radicalizing, was bringing back to reality, we're never going to stand for those motherfuckers to put them in a feudal goddamn digital prison.
Yeah.
Never.
I agree with that.
Those fucking Zoomer kids, I have one. I'm telling you, they were never going to go along with that. That's half the reason why they're skeptical of Trump, because they don't quite get this whole transition thing.
Well, get away from Trump for a second. You know, one of the things I saw in Iraq that it stuck with me for all these years, because I dealt with a lot, and part of my job there was to teach them governance. And when I met with the governor in Nineveh province, and there was a captain that was riding around with the governor all the time. Great guy too, by the way. And one of the things that I got out of that was I was at the governor's mansion one night, and we were drinking chai tea, of all things. And I asked him, think that with the university, Mosul University declaring Sharia law, you think it'll stick? And he's like, nope. They try it every year, and the same thing happens. The youth just close their doors and ignore them. And that's exactly what they did every time they tried to declare Sharia law. And it's that I look at the digital prison the same way. They're going to declare that we're going to do all these things, and people will just stop using the system, and they'll just ignore the system. And they'll be sending IRS people, and their answer will be, go fuck yourselves. We're not doing anything. Go away. And it'll be entire communities that do it. And the system will fail under its own weight. Because if people don't want to abide by the law, it doesn't matter how many law enforcement you have. You're never gonna enforce it. And that goes back to what I was saying about that generation, right? They know a lot of different ways to break things with technology. They'll figure out ingenious ways to break that system. I can't wait.
No, Steve, we're both angry about slightly different things, I think. You know what I mean? A slightly different aspect.
I'm not really angry. I'm expressing the vitriol that the public is expressing every single day. And we need to walk back from that, right? You saw how animated I could get just trying to express it, right? Like, just fucking arrest somebody. I have people call me every day that just scream in my ear, just fucking arrest somebody, right?
But our job, but I really do feel quite strongly, and that part of our job is to diffuse that by explaining that you're being gaslit into wanting that.
Oh,
it's not that you're wrong.
Fucking literally.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm getting at. And then we as commentators have to make sure that we hold on for a second. Nope. Not taking that phone call. We have to realize that you're being gaslit into this, that this is part of the divide and rule strategy. And I know it comes off sometimes. I go to the very black pilled in the audience. I know it comes off like I act like a gatekeeper. I'm not. I'm trying to keep the activation energy underneath full scale kinetic civil war, because that doesn't behoove anyone.
Right.
I
agree with you.
Everybody wants to. I know you all. I do want to invoke your endocrine system and just go hog wild. I got news for you. Go outside and get an axe and chop down a fucking tree. Okay.
Actually, let me reframe that, Tom.
What's that?
Let me reframe that.
Sure.
This is what happens when the first bullet goes downrange, because I have this conversation every day, right? I get called, sir, what are your orders? I have this conversation every day, and I'll just say this. The first fucking round that goes downrange, everything stops. Everything. No more Starbucks, no more water at your tap, no more garbage collection, no more grocery store, no more fucking DoorDash. It stops.
Yep.
So the moment you step off the line of departure, your world changes forever. You become Aleppo. And if you think I'm kidding, go look at the pictures of Aleppo after 10 days of fighting. That's what happens if this comes here.
Right.
So take a step back. I'm just as pissed as everybody else, but I'm pissed about the fact that we're seeing people in the system still trying to disrupt the system, right? And deconstruct the system. But at the same time, remember, you don't want kinetic. I've lived through it. A lot of guys I know lived through a hell of a lot more than I did. And I can tell you, that's not where we want to go with this. We want to take the system down systematically and let it fail under its own weight, and then go and reconstruct it with people that understand selfless service. That's how we have to do this, right? I want to see people arrested today, but I also know the moment you start rolling up some of these big names, chaos ensues. So we have to set conditions to do that, right? I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure we clear the air on that, because it didn't. Because I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, Steve, at some point, like, you know, you do the rant. It's like I can't argue with. I want people arrested. I agree with you, but again, everything has to be, you know, we got to moderate. The board has to be set. The pawn has to be here to balance the rook, and all. You have to get it all, and then you can make the move. And then you can. And once you start making the move, and you get out of the mid game, remember, to extend that metaphor. These people exist to keep us in a perpetual state of mid-game. Okay? And mid-game is when everything's tense. Mid-game is when everybody's jockeying for position. Mid-game is when, you know, I've been in games that have done this. That I used to play a particular card game that we could sit around the table and keep everything balanced in a perpetual mid-game for 4 hours. Like, insane levels of stress in that environment, of constant recalculation with every fucking move that 5 people around the table are making. Hundreds of fucking degrees of freedom, cards flying everywhere, all of these variables, and you're like, how do I balance it all? And then, you know, all you have are probability spaces, right? All you've got is Bayesian statistics of probability of what's in his hand, what's he got on the table, you know, what's he got down, you know, all the hidden information. That's what we're dealing with. That model is insane, and most people aren't capable. And I don't mean this as a rebuke. Most people aren't capable of handling that level of analysis because they've never done it, or they don't. Most people in our society don't live for it. I live for this kind of shit. To me, I think it's like falling off a log. I do this now for a living. I don't have to, like, you know.
But most people, Tom, your point is well taken, because most people don't know how to critically think because it's been baked out of our schools.
Well, that's
literally been taken out of our schools.
Maybe that's the case, but like,
you and I grew up when your professor was using the Socratic method, ask you open-ended questions to make you critically think, and then say you have to critically think through this because there's not one answer. It's not black and white. Right. How many times did you hear that in college? I heard that a million times.
I didn't really hear that in college much. I was a chemistry major. There was a whole lot of black and white.
I heard it all the time because
the closest thing I got to I got to that was when we finally got into quantum mechanics, and even before that, we were in organic chemistry, and there was all you can do is percent yield. Like, we're going to do this synthesis reaction. Your goal is to get 70% yield, and if you don't, you fail. Like, because you're not going to get 90% because you don't have the equipment for it.
I had this econ instructor that I loved. His name was Dr. Mack. He literally was a spit image of Groucho Marx. So every time I talked to him, it was like, it just cracked me up. I'd have a smile on my face. Like, this is Groucho Marx.
Lord Julius.
But he taught me how to critically think. And he was a poli-sci. He was an economics poli-sci guy, right? And I was just like you. I was like focused, head down, but we would have these discussions because we were both car guys, and it's like, you got to think through this. How would that really play out? How would you really do that? How do you think this is really going to go? How do you think they're going to react if this happens? And then he would just sit there and not say a word. And it was amazing how much I learned from the guy. And, you know, most of the public has not had anybody like that until Charlie Kirk, right? He brought that questioning. Like, I watched him several times where he's like, okay, what's your definition of racism? And it's full stop, like literally full stop on the other end, because they don't know. I feel it's racist. Well, that's not racism, right? So he brought something to the table that was unique, that hasn't been around in this country for, I'm going to say, 20 years.
Oh, sure.
And hopefully that revolution will continue. But they were trying to kill that because they don't want people to rationally think and critically think, right? Oh. And the thing they fear the most is we all get on the same page, because then they're really.
Well, it's always been the big worry has been whether the center right and the center left can come together. And that
happened yesterday.
And what's that?
That happened the day before. The moment he was killed, the center left, center right came together.
Yeah, the center left is gone. The center right is gone. They're now and remember, Trump was bringing that together in order to build the coalition that got him elected in the first place. I mean, that's what Bobby Kennedy, that's what Tulsi Gabbard represented. It's even what Musk represents. They represented these, let's bring people together from both sides of all sides of the political spectrum, and let's form a government that's about fixing the problems. It's not about, what is and isn't.
Agencies are working hard to get Gabbard out of the fucking way. Man,
oh my God, how hard have they worked, and she just stands there and looks at them and goes, "That's nice."
Here's what I'm encouraged by, because I dealt with that, when DNI stood up. She's really what the DNI is supposed to be.
Yes.
She's the fusion center and the decision point for all intelligence activities. Now, granted, there's probably a host of shit the CIA's doing she probably doesn't have any visibility into. And
Sure.
Ratcliffe's probably up to his ass in assholes right now. But she is doing exactly what the DNI was supposed to do in the first place.
Yep.
Use all the information together, the stuff the American people needed to know, the DNI would release it, and release it in a public space so people could consume it, and then go back and find all the other supporting documentation. Like, here's the big part that I think is a contention point. When she came out and said, we have no indication that Iran is building nuclear weapons, and then Trump comes out and goes, yeah, she's wrong. That was the only time that there was contention.
No, he didn't say that. She didn't say that. What she said was, it is the intelligence community's assessment that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. That's what she said. She didn't. And when someone asked Trump, they said, well, your DNI Gabbard said blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, she's wrong. Right. But if she said that, she's wrong. But he knew she didn't say that.
Right. Good reframe. Appreciate that. But you get my point, right? That was the only contention. Mm-hmm. Ever since then, they've been in lockstep. And she's been supporting and providing information to the public so people really know what's going on. Mm-hmm. Right? Releasing the information on Brennan and Clapper and the January 6th stuff and all of the real coup, real coup, is critical for shaping the narrative to bring them to the table. That's shaping operations, and that.
And they have attacked her multiple times. And if you don't follow Sundance over Conservative Treehouse, I think you should. If there's anybody who does a good job of like the day-to-day machinations of understanding the way the IC works, I give Sundance credit all the time. I learn shit from him all the time because his coverage of the IC is amazing. I discount a lot of his other analysis, but I really think this IC analysis is excellent. And he's been saying for months now, he's like, yes, exactly what you just said, which is that Gabbard is that, look, the DNI was designed to be another gatekeeper, another information siloer. And Gabbard is using that to break down the silos and find out. And then when she finds a siloer, she gets rid of them and then pulls the information forward. And she's surgically striking her way through all of the intelligence agencies and forcing them to out themselves. This is a painstaking operation to get rid of the cockroaches.
Well, okay? let me add some context
she's doing amazing fucking work.
Let me add some context to that, because people are not going to understand that.
Sure.
We're talking about an intelligence apparatus that has operated outside of budgets since 1947. So when Alan Dulles stood up the CIA, they were completely autonomous. They're not accountable to anybody, and their budget is completely black. And it's operated that way. And look, I've operated in some very classified spaces, and I can tell you, it's all funny money. It's all Doty money, right? That's Department of Defense intelligence money, which is all deficit money. It's basically money that's not accounted for in any way, shape, or form. It comes from a lot of different operations, illicit operations, black operations, show companies, etc. Right? All those things that Whitney Webb talks about, but that apparatus has been around for a very, very, very long time. So we're talking about players that have been in the game in all these different cubby holes throughout the federal government, and you would be very fucking surprised how many intelligence operations are going on across the government in various forms that are assigned to various different agencies that are not called intelligence, but they're intelligence. So she has to ferret through all of those different rat holes and figure out who's good, who's bad, who's a blocker, who's an insurgent, who's a communist, and then get rid of them. And part of her outing all of these guys, which I think is way past time, because there's people there's people at the agencies that I just wanted to drag behind my truck.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing people don't realize is after January 6th, the Biden administration and the regime, they went through all these agencies and they took out everybody conservative and siloed them to the point where they're completely ineffective and replaced them with insurgents.
Yep.
So when Trump came back in 2024, every agency was filled with communist insurgents.
Yep.
And that's what he's weird. That's why that's taking so long, because you don't know who's who. Everybody smiles in your face, but they're pissing in your pocket in the background. Like that leak, that signal leak. That was a complete propaganda, gaslighting setup, right? And and that brings me to another point. When you see multiple stories right now, like what I'm seeing right now on X, EM and I were just trading texts about it, is we're seeing this anti-Jew rhetoric that look, let me just put this on the table before I finish the statement. I wouldn't be surprised if Mossad was involved in this operation with Charlie Kirk, right? Like you said, it's one big blob, but this rhetoric is being amplified across all social media, and I don't know where the anti-Semitic stuff's coming from, but it's being amplified right now. Like there's absolutely no ties right now between Israel and anything with Charlie Kirk, but it's being pushed heavily right now. Right now, would I be surprised if they weren't? No, I wouldn't be. But does that mean they are? No, that there's no indications of that. Right? It's like the fucking plane. Well, it turned off its ADSB, so it has to be involved. There's no correlation there. There's no there. Right? And even if it was, it's not going to lead anywhere.
Right.
Let me. Tom, do you have something to add to that? Because I want to take this to another subject here as soon as you're done. Tom, do you have something to add to that?
I'm good.
Oh, because you so threw me off there for a second, Tom. So I want to go back because you're talking about the middle, the extreme left, the extreme right. Would the Ukrainian girl getting stabbed to death the other day, even though the event happened a few weeks ago, the video coming out, would that also be an opportunity for the extreme left and the extreme right to possibly move
absolutely
collectively?
Absolutely.
Consider it saddlebags of anger. That's
I was, like we all were, I saw the video of that thing and I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Right. And then they covered it up, and then the fucking Charlotte shitbags didn't want to cop to it, and blah blah blah. And like some fucking person within the Charlotte government said this is bullshit, and sent that shit out, gave it to somebody, put it on the internet. Which again, all of these little things that we get to see that they don't want us to see, those are all evidence that there's still good people within the system trying to help us put the political pressure on the right people in order to get to the right event, the right thing. Yes, some of them are clearly gaslighting material in order to try and get us angry and push us over the edge. Fuck a whole lot of that. This girl and the response from it was, so when I was putting the market report together for the patrons on Wednesday, as always, I have the opening slide with a meme and 3 talking points, and that's always the last thing I do is to find the meme. I'm like, I was trolling through my Slack server, and I saw a great AI generated picture basically of her as a mural up on a tenement building, and it was in support of the post by the guy who said, look, I want to raise $500,000 to do 10K block art grants to paint murals of her all over American cities. And the reason, of course, I saw it at that point is because Elon Musk retweeted it and said, I'll pledge $1 million. And I said to myself, that's perfect. That's the perfect response to this level of violence. It's the perfect way to deal with the horror, because the horror of it, of course, because what does Irina Perutska, what does she represent? She represents the dehumanization of women, the erasure of women in the public sphere with the tranny movement, and the erasure of men by the Handmaid's Tale, third wave feminist bullshit, and all of this crap. Right? It's and it's very much then later that day, fucking Charlie Kirk. Right? Um, the way you deal with that level of trauma, the way you deal with that kind of an event, is to remind everybody, nope, never again. That's enough. No fucking more. And that animal needs to be fucking put down like a dog, and we don't spend another minute on him. We don't rehabilitate him. You don't put him in jail. You don't let him get fucking shanked in Gen Pop. Fuck that. Kill him, remove him from the gene pool, and be done with it. That's it.
No, I agree, Tom. I
Now,
hardly agree, but let me add some context to that too.
But then the next thing is those murals go up, and people respect them, and then every day when we walk by them on our way to work or wherever, you pat the fucking wall and you remind yourself, okay, never again. What can I do to make sure that never fucking happens again?
Yeah.
What I was thinking, Mike, and you said, end of the year friggin' movie list. When I was talking about that, it reminded me of every time I watch Schindler's List. And I pulled this one out earlier in the day. I'm going to pull it out today because I think it's really important. Every time I watch Schindler's List, I get to the end. And I haven't watched it in years, but every time I watch it, you get to the end where the black and white turns into color and we move into present day, and the surviving Schindler Jews are walking up to pay respects at his grave. And about 2/3 of the way through that procession is one of the old women just gently pats his grave and then walks on. That's what the resolve comes from that to clean this shit up. It comes from that gratitude and that remembrance. We can't do this by giving in to the worst of our endocrine system and our gut level response to the horror of what these people parade in front of us. Charlie Kirk's greatest legacy is that 50 fucking guys stand up and try to be him.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
We are all Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I agree with that. The context I would add to that too is that when the public disclosure of the Ukrainian girls story came out, because it was suppressed for over a week, 2 weeks maybe, when that came out and then Charlie Kirk happened the next day, I hate to say this, but we should be thankful that Charlie Kirk's assassination happened so nobody can deny it, and that it's in the public consciousness now. As much as it put us in a danger area, it woke everybody up that this really is a war. It's saddlebags of anger on the public consciousness, because on the one hand, the public's realized the judicial system and the law enforcement system have been completely compromised by communists, and on the other hand, you see that political speech now leads to death, and they don't want political discourse because that's all he's guilty of is political discourse. And it shows you graphically what the elite are scared of, right? And I use elite loosely because, there's multiple players here, right? Because China is using this as an opportunity. There's tons of Chinese bots active right now. But the point is that it woke the public up that this is a real war. And this is not just some conspiracy. And I'm with you, Tom. What I've said to my audience for the last 3 days now is stay out of the emotional space. Mm-hmm. It's easy to get angry. Stay out of the emotional space. Don't get wrapped up in the narratives. Don't get wrapped up in the vitriol. Stay in there and pay attention to the signal, because the signal right now is what's real. What do we know? What do we not know? What adds up? What doesn't add up? And then the other piece of it is what's going on over here. We're all distracted. What's going on over here? Nobody's paying attention.
I agree.
Right?
I mean, these things that happened against the backdrop of the potential false flag with Russian drones in Poland, and there's 100 fucking things. Ursula von der Leyen, for all intents and purposes, declaring war on Russia and everybody who's not European. I mean, we can do another 45 minutes of that bullshit. I've already done it in multiple other contexts, so I don't want to do that now. But what I'm saying is, all of these things, there's an orgy of events and accelerations here since we hit Qatar. And
Yeah, I don't want to go down that
Qatar,
rabbit hole, Tom.
I have a
There's too
couple of
many
different
aspects.
theories on what happened there, and both of them are both mutually exclusive and really fucking controversial.
Can you share
And
one of them with
no
me?
one wants to hear what I have to say.
I want to hear. I want to
I'll
hear
be-
it. I want to hear it.
No, I just did it on Crypto Rich like an hour ago. Like, I seriously. But the long and the short of it is that 10/7 was perpetrated by the Qatar British-backed wing of Hamas. That's the part nobody wants to face. In order to radicalize the Israelis, so they're doing to do exactly what they're doing right now. And the Israelis have to be looked at as rapidly depreciating assets for the British Empire, the British globalists, to shake the fucking ant jar, to get to start World War III, and to try and suck Donald Trump back into the war in the Middle East. That's why Israel and Turkey are staring at each other. But at the same time, I also can bring myself to believe, or at least entertain the idea, that Trump and Netanyahu know exactly what they're doing, and what they're doing is they're systematically taking British assets off the board, including fucking Erdogan, including those Salafist head-jobbing animals that took over in Syria. And that every bit of quote-unquote unfocused Israeli aggression isn't that at all. It's actually very much targeted, fuck you, you betrayed us, you motherfuckers, and we're taking you all out. And
Yeah, you could go down a lot of rabbit holes with that.
Really look at every one of the strikes that Israel has put out recently, every goddamn one of them, every fucking one of them traces right back to British fucking proxies.
I don't disagree with that, but you could go down a lot of rabbit holes, and I think, to be honest with you, I don't think that story's developed enough yet either.
No, of course it has. Again,
the
what I'm getting
Qatar
at,
thing-
and notice how Qatar is turning right around and then trying to unite the Arab League to go against Israel. Like, what the fuck? And the British were running a refueling plane over the goddamn over the thing. So were they working were the British working with the Israelis to betray the peace? That's Occam's razor. That sounds like 101. But then why did the United States, if they're really trying to stop the peace, trying to stop the war, why didn't they scramble somebody out of fucking Doha? And
well, that's why I say you can go down a lot of rabbit holes with that, because why were our forces on the ground?
Contradictory mess. And you're like,
Yeah.
I mean,
why didn't Trump get on the phone with Netanyahu and go, no, you're not going to do that?
because again, I prefer this story of no. This is exactly what we're going to do. We're knocking out all of this. Look, at the end of the day, every one of these things, as my friend Alex Craner likes to put it, it's a British ant jar shaking exercise. Black ants and red ants, put them in a jar, shake the jar, watch them fight. And when you watch the world, when you start really looking at all of these conflicts, and you really start digging into all these conflicts, you always see the same fucking people. And they aren't Jews.
Oh, no, that's very true.
They're not hook noses. They're fucking limeys.
That's very true in Ukraine.
Now, some of those limeys happen to be Jews. And some of those limeys happen to be allied with the crazy Zionist Jews in Israel. Absolutely. But never forget that this is all fucking the crown. And the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was proving that he didn't exist.
Well, I think
I'm over it, dude. Like, I think Trump is going to fucking England to tell King Sausage Fingers, these are the terms of your surrender.
That cracks me up every time you say that.
That's fucking hilarious, isn't it? I love that.
I like Dumbo
I can't
ears better,
unsay it
but,
now.
it's
just too much. Like,
well, just one last thing on Qatar. There's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down with that. I've stayed away from that for the simple reason that you can make a case there's 4 different directions you can go with it. This is where I come back to. The statement that Trump released is we tried to notify the government it was going to happen. We told Israel we didn't want them to do that. They did it anyway. The message got there late. And you can take that a lot of different ways, right? And having been in the Beltway, I know exactly what that means. But that said, I don't think that's the signal we should be paying attention to. I think that's a piece of the signal, but I think the signal is going to be when he meets with the king, the body language, the rhetoric, and what he comes back with is going to be the signal, right?
Absolutely.
So I've been waiting for that because this was supposed to happen 2 months ago. King was supposed to come
and then they
here.
pushed it off. Yeah, they pushed it
Yeah.
off. The
So
other thing, I was just one more point on that, Steve. Like, look, never forget that Qatar is, that's the home of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, that's why I say there's a lot of different directions you can go with that.
Right. And then we have Erdogan in Turkey, Muslim Brotherhood. Like, this is, again, I go back to things that I thought that have been put into my head that I've, listened to a lot of different people over the last few weeks. And, if we want to avoid World War III as a full-on big old kinetic fireball, you do that by thieving the activation energy that leads us up the escalatory ladder to that level, to that moment. And the way you do that is you bleed out all the armies and you bleed out all the weapon systems and you bleed out all the guns that were built to fight World War III, which they've been gearing up for 85 fucking years since the end of World War II. And you do that with small conflicts here and small conflicts there. You do that by wiping out the money flow. You do that by forcing all of by using up all of the material and men that were built to fight the war. We've already destroyed the Ukrainian army. We've and in the process made the Russians, pay a fairly hefty price for doing so. Now they want to build a grand army of the EU Republic in order to go, I don't know, Nancy boy their way in front of fucking hardened Russian Spetsnaz. Good luck with that bullshit. Now you got the Turkish military that needs to be destroyed. And the best way to get a crazy neo-Ottoman, expansionist like Erdogan, who's also politically very, very weak right now, a collapsing economy, the bad poll numbers, the lira having collapsed. Fucking tether is a more trusted currency inside Turkey than the fucking lira is. I'm not kidding.
I think it's funny because it's true.
And when you start thinking about that, you start realizing, well, how is the fucking Turkish army going to get paid? And they're going to have to deal with Israelis flying fucking cap over, parts of Syria. Oh, you're going to build forward air bases? No, we're going to blow those up. But every time Israel does anything, the quote Charlie Kirk, anytime Israel does anything, it's bad. And anytime they do anything good, it's ignored. And there's a reason for that. And again, I'm not absolving them of what they're doing in Gaza. What they're doing in Gaza is disgusting. Sadly, it may even be necessary. And that's the part that no one wants to face because everybody wants to be in the I don't kick fucking puppies club. War's bad, man. Yeah, war is bad. War sucks. But the Palestinians kept making their fucking choices over the years, too. They chose to ally themselves and be everybody's goddamn political football in order to get their thing, get their cookie. They made nice with the Brits. They made nice with the Iranians. They made nice with the fucking Yemenis. They made nice with the fucking Russians. They tried to cut deals with the Israelis and the United States and everybody and Europe and everybody else. And when you try to play that goddamn game, eventually everybody looks at you and goes, when the truth of the matter is, and this is the part that no one wants to face, has anybody come to their help?
Well, that's so. Yeah, I'm going to agree.
No,
I'll agree to disagree on that, but I'll just say this: everybody's in the same boat that we're in right now, right? Financially, militarily. Egypt's had how many forces on the border? I think the tell in all of it is the fact that none of the Arab nations are willing to accept the Palestinians. Everybody uses the Palestinians, but nobody wants to take them in, right? And that conversation. But do I agree that it's necessary? No, I don't. I don't agree.
I wish I'm not. Look, I
can't sign up for that, man.
I agree.
Too far for me, right?
I'm not. Look, I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that space. I really don't.
Let me finish. I'm not sure how much of that I believe is true because there's propaganda on both sides that have come out, just like in Ukraine. I caution everybody all the time. being in that business, you don't know what's real and what's not real, and everything's been hyper inflated.
Yes.
Right. So we don't. I don't know the situation on the ground. I'm not going to speculate.
Well,
But I will say this: I am not a fan of I can't condone genocide in any way, shape, or form because of the oath I took. And if the optics are true, this is genocide in every way, shape, or form. Nobody can accept that. That's not necessary under any circumstances. Any circumstances. But that said, that's a conflict that the rest of the world should have stepped in. That's not a U.S. conflict. That everybody should have stepped in, and no one has stepped in. And that's the part that gets under my skin is everybody wants to talk about how bad it is, but if it's so bad, then why hasn't Egypt or Jordan or any of the other countries around them stepped in, especially Turkey?
And why is the UN continually trying to push a two-state fucking solution that they know that nobody will accept?
The politics of that region go back 2,000 years. It hasn't changed. And it's a British experiment yet again.
And my point stands that that's the most telling point. No one has come to their defense. Maybe it's because everybody's sick of their shit.
I don't know what it is.
And dude, I don't want to. That's the most horrible fucking thing that's ever come out of my mouth.
I can't.
But this is the reality of fucking geopolitics. This is what these people do to us.
Well, I think the other side of this too is I've heard several historians say that you leave two cultures that are conflicting close enough, the dominant one's always going to commit genocide because it's a necessary evil to deal with the problem, right? I will say this. The Israelis knew about October 7th. There's no way they couldn't have, because you don't move a fucking grain of sand in Gaza without them knowing about it. I've been on the wall. I know exactly how much information they have and how many cameras. And we've built most of the surveillance system, so I know what's there. You don't move a fucking grain of sand in that place, and they don't know about it. So I'm sure they watched a lot of those weapons go in. I'm sure they watched some of these other operations. I have no doubt that it was probably facilitated out of Qatar and coordinated out of Qatar. I have no doubt about that. But the bigger picture is, and the bigger question is, when does it stop? Right? It needs to fucking stop. It's needed to stop for a long time. And if Trump doesn't have any impact on that,
and my point is that every time something like this happens, everybody turns to Donald Trump and says, "Why don't you stop this?" I'm like it's our responsibility to stop every goddamn conflict in the world that we are either not a party to, or everything. Why doesn't Trump just stop it?
Why didn't the Arab world support him when he went over there? It was just him, right? That's the other question: is why isn't the rest of the Arab world support him?
Because at the end of the day, he's just one man. He's not fucking Jesus.
And I think that's a tell too, right? So the whole fucking thing stinks to high heaven. And
yes.
As much as I don't want to accept the way it is the way it is. And I firmly believe that we have no part in that conflict. We've never had a part in that conflict. We should have never been a part of that conflict. We should have never been involved in a conversation with two states. That's an Arab problem. Like, this is your region. You guys fucking deal with it.
And this is why we're having to try and extricate ourselves from these fucking British assholes who want to keep us involved in these fucking conflicts that are not our fucking business. And then we get painted with the brush of shame and opprobrium and everything else and they don't give a fuck. They walk away and they're happy because, a whole bunch of chaos was sown and no one consolidated power, which is their whole fucking foreign policy. Kill people or get other people to kill each other so that we can continue doing this sleazy shit we do in the background all damn day long. And most of that sleazy shit they do in the background is intelligence-backed drug running and human trafficking. That's what the empire runs on. And then they paint everybody with their fucking dirty fucking brush. And then we all have to sit around and take fucking showers and try and wipe the fucking virtual blood off our goddamn skins. Because they use our fucking tax money and our time.
Well, I think that was part of the catalyst for shutting down USA. is to cut all the illegal, illicit
I'm
programs.
talking about all the CIA black op fucking shit you were talking
That's
about an hour.
what I'm talking. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? That's what led us to a lot of different conclusions.
So we got trillions of dollars of this shit that have got to stop. And unfortunately, there's nothing, there's no momentum, there's no actor or agency or agent out there that's going to stop the slaughter of the Palestinians.
No, that's why I say it.
And I'm not stating that's a good thing. I'm saying that is a fact with a period.
I can't believe any of them are still alive. I can't believe any of them are still alive, and I can't believe you see bombings of buildings. There was a skyscraper. How are there even hospitals left?
I mean, Trump is the only one halfway fucking reasonable, saying just get everybody out of there. Let's bulldoze the place and rebuild it. And everyone's going to Trump Riviera on you. Dude. Like, the fuck off. Have you been to the goddamn place? There's no goddamn water.
Yeah, that there's so many aspects. Like I said, there's so many aspects to it that we shouldn't be involved in. That's just yet another. Like, here's a question that nobody's asked. Egypt's a huge country. Jordan's a smaller country. Iraq is, they could go to Iraq, no problem right now. They could go to Iraq. They could go to Iran. Why hasn't Iran taken them? I mean, yeah, they're not Persian, but Iran's got plenty of territory that they can move people into. You don't hear them talking about it. You don't hear
Iran's not an ethno state either. They're not a Persian ethno state or anything. Come on.
But you know what I mean, right?
There's not plenty of non-Persians in Iran.
Yeah. Right. But the point is, you don't hear Iran saying, we'll take them and, we'll solve this problem.
Again, because no one wants the conflict to end, because everybody's grifting off the conflict and the Palestinians are being slaughtered for it. Because we're all complicit in it.
Yeah.
So everybody take off your I don't kick puppy shirt and let's get fucking serious about it. That's what gets me fucking angry. Everybody needs to stop virtue signaling about how they're against war, man. Fuck off. We're going to stop this shit. We're going to stop this shit.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the question.
Deal with the goddamn geopolitical reality that nobody fucking gives a crap.
Well, on the flip side of that, though, Tom, the flip side is we could end that really quickly if we cut the funding to Israel. If we stopped paying for all of their defense and they had to pay for it themselves, that would come to an end, a quick end. But we haven't done that either. So
I know we haven't.
We could have done that.
And we know what the reason is for that, Steve. Because if Trump does that tomorrow, the fucking Congress, the only religion that they have in Congress is what will it take for us to be able to have the ability to show up on Tuesday and impeach Trump and get rid of him? Because if you don't think they can't get 60 in the House, 60% of the House, 60 votes in the Senate to fucking dump Donald Trump if he were to cut off aid to Israel tomorrow,
I know the reason why he can't. I'm just saying that there would have been a quick way to end it.
But we have to make sure that everybody in the audience knows this as well. And if your response to my statement there, not you personally, Steve, the royal you who are in the audience, that's why the AIPAC runs the country and we got to get rid of them. Like, no, shitbag, that's obvious, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Not until we actually get to the midterms, get rid of half of these fucking people. And they're working overtime every goddamn day today to turn you against Trump and the people on Capitol Hill trying to stop this train from continuing, because you just want to be blackpilled and go, see, it doesn't matter. Okay, well then, enjoy getting ass raped by a fucking muzzy one day. Fuck up, I don't care. That's what you're signing up for, dude.
No, you're right. I mean, the virtue signaling is beyond old, and I'm sitting here taking in what you're saying, and the other thing that I still have a hard time with is that I have to remind myself that Trump's surrounded by people that would gladly see him dead, and facilitate that happening, especially in Congress.
Is a fucking miracle.
Yeah, especially in Congress, and.
Yeah.
I criticize the guy when he does stupid shit. I'll give him the praise where he does good things. I think one of the best things he's done, instead, I'm going to go back to Gabbard, is hire Tulsi Gabbard's DNI. That was one of the best hires ever. And
best in the Treasury has been tremendous, Steve. I'm telling you, everything I'm seeing in the way he's setting this country up financially for the future is exactly on point. Russ Vought at OMB is going to be the sleeper. You mark my words.
Well, okay. So on that vein, the next question that everybody's going to ask is, what's he going to do with the Fed? And you've already answered that question, but I think it's worth saying again because I know
the Fed is in the process of being reformed.
Yeah.
Besson just took a selfie with Judy Shelton this afternoon. Like,
nice.
Okay, no, I mean, I'm backing it down out of the endocrine system. I've been saying it for a long time. It's very obvious that Besson wants the Fed reformed. He just had a big friggin' article in, I don't know, the fucking Wall Street Journal or whatever it was the other day, or on X, which got reposted everywhere, about the problem with the Fed and what the Fed, what the Fed has done to destroy the middle class in America. To have the Treasury Secretary write that, and honestly, even after everything that's happened, was still not on my bingo card. I just thought that they would slow play that process out longer, but no, it's here. With Powell getting rid of the 2% inflation target and then getting back to the quote unquote dual mandate, that's actually a move back to bringing the Fed back from the brink of its worst excesses. It's a symbol of the worst part of the Fed's policy mistake, which was designed to destroy the country. The inflation targeting was never a good idea. Powell was never in favor of it when Bernanke unilaterally imposed it on the Fed policy back in 2007 or 2008. I think it was late 2007. So this is a process, and Powell's going to cut interest rates and support trying to rebuilding the middle class, and it all ties into Fannie and Freddie and a whole variety of other things. But dudes, I've been talking to a microphone for 4.5 hours, and I'm getting tired. I'm getting punchy.
Can I just add one thing here, Tom? Do a movie talk. Here, we'll go off track and talk movies for 1 second, because I've been waiting for this moment. I don't know when I'm going to get back on here. Eyes Wide Shut. I saw a clip where Tom Hanks walks in with the mask on, and they said that was the scene that got Stanley Kubrick killed, because that movie symbolizes the elites.
Oh yeah, no. The original cut is Eyes Wide Shut. Is no one's ever seen it. The people anybody who's seen it has been either killed or shut up for life. And Kubrick himself was shut down for it. Eyes Wide Shut was a story. With the original form of that story was Tom. The Tom Cruise's character winds up brushing right up against this, and how they. And even then, and the movie was still so strong in that message that even the version that they cut to soften it, that made its way out the door, it's still all there.
Never seen it.
Oh, you should. You should watch it. You should watch it. All Kubrick should be watched from the perspective of how does the deep state operate? Because every movie he made is about that. Including The Shining, including Barry Lyndon, obviously Clockwork Orange, including Full Metal Jacket.
2001?
Yeah, even 2001.
Where can people find you, Tom?
Luongo.me, and an even worse version of me shows up on Twitter. No, actually, after today's performance, my Twitter feed is mild compared to what you saw today. TFL1728, Patreon/Cold Goats and Guns.
Steve.
I'm on the path forward on Rumble, and you can find me on Apple Podcast, and I'm on same thing on Twitter. You can find me on X under the path forward.
Substack
LTC_Steven_.
Sorry, I cut you off. Say it again.
Substack's path forward too. I'll send you all the links. You can post them.
Tom, I think it's the first conversation we ever had with you. You didn't smoke a cigar.
Yeah, I can't smoke it. This is where my wife sleeps now, so no, I probably won't be smoking after I get once the other things. I'm not gonna just don't have my office available to me anymore, at least as of right now. So
That's too bad because I have a bunch of really bad cigars to send you.
Oh, I still smoke. I'm going to finish this thing. What do you think after a performance like that? You don't think I'm going to go downstairs and have an after sex smoke? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, that was hall sex. Fuck you. No, fuck you. I need a smoke. Jesus.
All right.
Guys, thanks a lot. Till next time.
Let's
Mike,
go into the thing. I'll talk to you guys later.
Mike drop.
Yeah.